To the broadcast and to the point, the health situation in the country is what we're looking at, of course, narrowing it down to the bone of contention that lies between the Ministry of Health and the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, and basically the numerous concerns that we continue to have as a people in relation to health. Yesterday marked 5 months since the rolling in of Social Health Authority, SHA, of course, she from the defunct NHIF, and Kenyans are asking, is this the way to go? Is there a way we can reverse the whole process? Specialists saying that the government has opted to get into this without listening to what it is that, of course, specialists have to say, and therefore the reason why we get to hear this or to experience the numerous hiccups that are there. But like we said, I mean, there are a couple of people who have tried using the SHA services, and they say it has worked just perfect for them. Should we continue? Should we not? The latest casualties, we would say, at the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, and the chairperson, Peterson Wachira, is here with us this evening to, just tell us what then is the progress amidst the talks. How far, if any?
Thank you, Linda, and thank you for always giving us this opportunity,
right,
so that Kenyans can understand where we are in terms of the health sector in this country. I must say that we are not at a good place because we have not moved. Since we went on strike,
right, we
have not moved, probably half a step. Because the things that took us on a strike are majorly, I can say, therefore.
Right.
Though we have coalesced them.
It's quite a huge list, but coalesced them to, okay.
Yeah. Broadly, we had put 2 issues.
Right.
One of them being the exclusion and discrimination by the Social Health Authority. That in itself has several things.
Right.
It has the facilities, and I wish Lishenga was here because some of his members are actually aggrieved in that grievance. And of course, there is also the pre-authorization by the clinical officers that is after empanelment. Yeah. And I'll be able to explain that later. And then we have the other issue now carries a bulk of the things. That is the non-implementation of the return to work agreement of last year. Right. That is 2024. It has CBA. It has the issues of promotions and redesignations in line with the career guidelines for clinical officers. It has the issues of the UHC, it has the issues of recruitments, it has the issues of medical cover, the salaries that had been stopped during the strike, and even the issue of Kirinyaga, our officers who had been sacked in 2019 by Governor Waiguru, then later they were reinstated by the Public Service Commission in 2021, further enforced by the court in 2024, but then Kirinyaga County has still refused to honor those orders. And lastly, we have more than 2,500 interns who have not been posted by the ministry for the past almost 2 years, and they have been at home. So it is these issues that really make us be on strike. But if I can explain about SHA.
Before you even get to SHA, does it not disturb you that you continue to raise concerns for quite a long time, and you would consider yourselves, and when I say yourselves, I mean including the General Secretary, you yourself, for years, the same concerns and many others continue to crop up. They have not been addressed. Do you suppose then that you lead this cadre of the health sector as should be?
We do.
So what is this that stops you as a leadership from attaining some of the concerns that the union members then would wish to see attained?
You see, the issue of collective bargaining is an issue that is between employees through their union and employers. Mostly in this context, we are talking about the employers in the government sector, being the Ministry of Health and the Council of Governors. Except the KMPDU that got their CBA in 2017, there is no other union in the health sector. We have around 6 unions in the health sector. There is no other with the CBA that is signed. Much of it is MOUs and return to work agreements. And of course, some, even the recognition agreement, which requires no monetary input, they have not really gotten. So the problem is actually not the unions.
Okay.
The problem is that the side of the government is not meeting their side of the bargain. And there are so many red tapes and bureaucracies. You are taken to Treasury, the other time you are told now the SRC is the problem. And they are the one who have actually kept us going round, because even the courts have pronounced themselves.
Including concerns that perhaps the leadership of the unions, or perhaps the leaders of these special cadres have been compromised by government. And therefore, and you have heard of this.
I have.
You have heard of this. So, I mean, if you look at your members today, there's not a single time that you have felt compromised in the sense that you have had, or I'm twisted by government to agree or not to agree. And slowly by slowly, we're getting to what it is that you want to address.
Thank you, Linda. That's a very important question. And I think it's a question that is not usually asked. And it's good so that we can be able to explain for the membership and Kenyans to understand. Because what would compromise mean? Compromise would mean that something has been done.
Yes.
That now either makes you not to continue pursuing the grievances of your members, or you leave it all together and you don't care where they end up.
Yeah.
So in our case, I can say that we have not been compromised. Because what really happens, like you remember last year when we went for 4 months, we had actually said that we were doing it once and for all. But it's the court that came in, the Employment and Labor Relations Court, and Judge Baira Mongai, I have much respect for him. He's the one who came in and said, you have gone almost 4 months, patients are suffering. He summoned both of us, the side of the employers and our side, and he said, now I'm giving an order as the court.
Okay.
Can you sit down, negotiate on a framework on how you'll be able to resolve this? So we didn't have an option. We had to go back because we respect the law. We respect the courts because we believe that that is where we run to when things go haywire. And so we went back to court because the court directed, and we had an agreement. By the way, that agreement is registered in court, and by being a consent, then it comes out as an order of the court. But then still, the side of the employers never honored their side of the bargain on many of the issues.
Okay.
Then in January, even before January, in December we decide we do not want to go on strike. Why not do demonstrations and remind them? And you remember as we were on demonstrations on issues of SHA and return to work agreement, then nothing happens. In January, we decide now we are going on strike. In a record 3 days, we had numerous meetings.
Right.
We had we actually saw a lot of goodwill then. And some of the things moved. And I think from especially the Council of Governors on some of the issues like the Social Health Authority,
right,
there was real tangible goodwill because they even signed a resolution together with the ministry, endorsed by the PS, Hurricane Tai, and directly the Social Health Authority to be able to implement. They have not been able to do that. And I hope you saw the statement by Excellency Governor Sang. He was very furious because basically that is insubordination from the officials of SHA.
Right.
So that was real tangible goodwill. And then we thought if they're able to move like this, then we might be able to resolve all the other issues. Right. But then after the 21 days that they had asked for us to go back and try and resolve the things within the 3 weeks, then we realized, especially the most grievous being the Social Health Authority, that really strips clinic officers of their dignity. We decided it was no longer tenable for us to continue. And that is when we decided that we have to come out and ensure that these things that we agreed upon, you know, there is nothing that we are negotiating, Linda.
Okay.
If it's about the Social Health Authority, there is a resolution directing, and that is a policy direction because it's the top leadership of the Council of Governors and PS Harry. Those are the people who, policy-wise, they direct the Social Health Authority because we can only assume that the PS Harry acts on behalf of the CS, who gives the policy directive. On the matter of the return to work agreement, we have a framework, very clear, but it was supposed to have been done by September of last year. So that is why we are out seeking, can you implement what we already agreed? There is nothing new that we are asking.
What are the chances of this being implemented now that we're saying there's nothing new that we're asking,
yes,
and this has been asked for before and nothing happening? End in sight? Anything, any hopes, or again you're going to just get to hear the court pronouncing that you have to go back, or perhaps you get half of the bargain and then you say fine, we're going to soften our stance because then we also care about the Kenyans who actually are seeking your services, and then go back? Or what, I mean, what do we expect?
You know, we are at a very what can I say? We are at a point where it's very even confusing for us.
Okay.
Because what is the need of myself going back to the facility where I cannot be able to see the patients who are registered under the Social Health Authority? What is the difference of me being there and not being there?
Let's listen into what the president has to say about the question of health and then come back and understand the concern on SHA.
Okay.
All right.
Pale nyuma, bima ya afya Kenya hii ilikuwa ya watu wenye ajira na watu wenye uwezo. Lakini sio wote wenye ajira na uwezo. Mimi naelewa sana washirika wengi wa kanisa hili la Jesus Winner pengine hawana ajira ile ya kuandikwa kazi, ama pengine hata hawana uwezo mkubwa. Lakini nimesema ya kwamba kila Mkenya sasa, awe na kazi, asiwe na kazi, awe na uwezo, asiwe na uwezo, atakuwa na bima ya afya, na wale ambao hawana uwezo wa kulipa, serikali ya Kenya itakulipia. Mnasikia ndugu zangu? Kwa sababu neno la Mungu linatufundisha ya kwamba tusiwasahau wanyonge, na hiyo ndio asma ya bottom up. Wale walio chini tuwainue, ili na sisi tulio na bima wao pia wapate bima. Ndio kila mtu akiwa mgonjwa aende hospitalini atibiwe, asiuze mali yake, asiuze shamba lake, tuweze kulipiana na bima ya serikali mambo yote ya matibabu ya Wakenya wote. And that is what we are working on. Kwa sababu it is the biggest program tuko nayo kwa taifa la Kenya. Pengine itachukua muda ishike laini, lakini believe you me, it is going to work. Believe you me. Tumejaribu. Serikali ya NAC ilijaribu because it's the right thing to do, haikufaulu. Tulijaribu kama Jubilee, hatukufaulu. Mimi nawaambia kwa mapenzi ya Mungu tutafaulu safari hii. Huyu askofu ametuambia it is not yet over. Si alituambia askofu huyu? Hata yule Abrahamu alikuwa miaka 100, lakini aliambiwa you will be the father of nations. Hakuona mwili yake, hakuona ile matatizo ilikuwa pale, hakuona mama Sara alikuwa amekuwa mzee sana, lakini aliamini Mungu. Tunaamini Mungu, Kenya hii itabadilika.
Well, President William Ruto speaking with finality that no matter what, we must proceed with SHA, and positive that indeed this will work. Something that perhaps the chairperson of KUKO will say is not possible based on the concerns that they raise as to SHA. Of course, at this very point, then the biggest question would be, what is the bone of contention? And I know Kenyans understand, but in less than a minute, could you paint a picture of what gets us here?
I want to start by agreeing with the president.
Okay.
SHA has to work.
Okay.
We have no option.
So we're not going back.
And NHIF was repealed, I think on 23rd of October last year. There is no NHIF. There is no legal framework for NHIF. Social Health Authority has to work. And that is why we are here.
Okay.
That is why we are trying to put some sense into the management of the Social Health Authority. But what I would like to caution the president is that he's not going to achieve what he wants to achieve. I know he means well. Whatever he says is something that can actually be achieved. But the current leadership that you're having under the Social Health Authority, he is not going to achieve through that leadership.
Okay. All right. We talk about exclusion, even as you tell us what exactly, is panning out. So when we're talking about this exclusion from SHA, that is for the clinical officers on the claims approval system, and of course, how does it get to impact the clinical officers and patients as we speak right now?
The legal framework that guides the Social Health Authority provides that for any service provider, and service provider is divided into two.
Okay.
There is the hospital, we call it a facility, and there is the person, we call them the health practitioner. Both of them have to be empaneled. That is as per the law. The law says that the regulatory bodies will submit a register to the Social Health Authority, and upon receipt, they don't have an option. They are going to empanel. What is empanelment? Empanelment is formal recognition of the practitioners or the facilities in the system, so that now they are recognized as providers who offer services on behalf of the authority. So when they came into place, they then decided that they only wanted to work with one of the regulatory bodies, despite ourselves having more than 10 regulatory bodies.
Right.
That is KMPDC.
Right.
And with that, that only meant only two cadres would be recognized. That is the dentists and the medical officers. Because even the doctors who are pharmacists are outside KMPDC. They're in the Pharmacy and Poisons Board.
Okay.
So what that then meant is that the facilities, more than 1,200 and something facilities owned by clinic officers, registered by the Clinic Officers Council, they were left out. And of course, all the providers, the 30,000 clinic officers, more than 30,000 that are registered by the Clinic Officers Council, and who offer services in this country, both in the private, public, and the faith-based. And actually out there in the private and faith-based, we are the majority of the clinicians. I must appreciate that through this push, now they have agreed to empanel the facilities.
But even before that,
yes.
I'm assuming that this proposal was being made, and of course with the push that then the same entities that you're talking about could be encompassed to these two main, and then they are carried under one or two umbrella. What is so difficult about that?
No, that is not what it meant. It was interpretation of those, actually not
the other
interpretation.
entity.
It was just people trying to suit their selfish interests.
Okay.
Because the issue of merger of regulatory bodies,
Yes.
and the issue of empanelment, they are exclusive.
Two different things.
They are exclusive.
Okay.
In empanelment, they are actually not required to know
Whether you're under
whatever regulatory bodies, because they are supposed to just receive the list from everyone, the nurses, the physiotherapists, the lab, and whoever else. And upon receiving, they are supposed to empanel. They do not even have an option of doing anything else.
But you had been locked out, evidently.
Yes, we had. And that is why I'm saying that
Finally, you've reached
these people went outside the law. And that is why we call them a cartel, by the way. I don't call them a cartel because I hate them.
I was about to ask you that. Why would you look at this body that is enshrined in the laws and call it a cartel?
SHA is not the cartel. It is the people working within SHA.
So it is SHA, not KMPDC.
In collusion with people working under the Ministry of Health and people working under the KMPDC. And let me tell you why they are cartels. What is a cartel? A cartel is an amorphous formation, an amorphous group that works in the darkness.
Whether registered or not. Because Cap 253 of the laws of Kenya, you understand very well that, of course, KMPDC is under this act. So you cannot
That is what I'm explaining.
Okay, proceed.
They go outside the law to pursue their interest. And this is how they were doing this. They were trying to push everybody to KMPDC. That is going to benefit KMPDC monetarily, but then illegally, because they are not supposed to be registered there, whether it's the facility or the person. Then you look at the Social Health Authority. What is their interest in engaging into the regulation regulation side, which is not theirs, because for them, they're only supposed to empanel the contract.
All right.
And then you look at the ministry. The ministry has been actually, some of the players within there, they have been the drivers of all this, of pushing the Social Health Authority without a written policy to be able to do this, which is against the law, and they know. And that is why we have been saying that that is cartelism. If you look at the definition of cartelism, that is cartelism, and that is what killed the NHIF. If it's not checked, it is the same thing that is going to kill the Social Health Authority. I know they don't like me because of saying these facts, and we'll continue saying them. But the chokehold that has been maintained on SHA, especially by the KMPDC and some of the players within the ministry, if that is not going to be checked, we are also going to kill SHA. And you can keep this for records. If this continues the way it is, and doing these illegalities that are denying Kenyans access to health care, SHA is going to go down because Kenyans are not going to register. If you look at the numbers that have been registered, it is basically those who are employed, both in the public and the private.
We're talking about 9, is it in 9 million or what exactly?
The ones who are contributing.
The ones who are registered.
3.3 million.
Well, I'll check the records correct and tell you the ones that have registered and the ones who are contributing, because registration then would automatically mean you're contributing.
No, it doesn't mean.
It doesn't mean so. So you could have been registered, but you do not contribute.
Yes.
All right, well
I think they have registered to around 19 million.
19 million, yes.
19 million. But only around 3.3 or 3.4
the ones who are contributing.
Okay. And if you look at it, 3.3 are being deducted because they are salaried.
Okay.
It's only 100,000 who are not salaried who are contributing, and probably those are the sick people. They are paying because they are sick, so that they can be able to utilize SHA. Why aren't Kenyans registering for SHA? Why aren't they contributing into SHA? Is it that they do not see the benefits? It is because the facilities that are near them, whether private or public, because 91% of the facilities in Kenya are either level 2 or level 3.
Right.
That is the primary health care. The clinicians who work there are clinical officers. So if you are going to a level 2 or a level 3, and what you required there required a pre-authorization, the clinical officer will tell you, I'm sorry, I cannot be able to use SHA. It's either you pay cash, or then you can move up maybe to level 4 or to a facility that is registered under KMPDC, where you can be able to get that service. And of course, Kenyans are going to spend more from out of pocket in terms of the fare they are going to use. In terms of if that service, then they have to get it there, they have to pay from their pocket. We are no longer implementing the UHC, because in UHC we must protect Kenyans against the financial challenges while accessing that health care. And basically that is why we are saying that the SHA, as currently constituted, as currently being managed, it is not aligned to help us achieve the UHC goal. And that is why I'm saying I agree with the president. I know he means it. I was there when he was signing the law. Right. And I know in his mind, he is clear about what he wants. But the people he has put there, and I thank Governor Sang because he has come out. I thank Aaron Cheroyot, I saw him. He also, I think in the Senate, said the same thing, that the management is an issue. And unless the management is sorted, then we are not going to go forward.
All right. Of course, when we're talking about these concerns that, of course, the clinical officers continue to have, we were supposed to have Dr. Lishenga here. The concerns, again, are being witnessed by clinical officers that are under private facilities. The same concerns are also being experienced?
Yeah, basically because they were not empaneled, and so they were not contracted. It is now they are being contracted.
Okay, so that has been addressed, you would say?
Yeah, that one has been addressed. Now they are being trained on the contracting. I believe they are sorting some of the things. They have empaneled the facilities, but they are yet to empanel. They are yet to empanel the providers, who are the clinical officers.
Okay.
And I think if you look at it, and we are going on demonstrations on Wednesday. And this will not be a normal demonstration.
Okay.
We will be collecting signatures outside the Social Health Authority. And we'll be collecting signatures from the public and from ourselves. We will then take them to Parliament, both the National Assembly and the Senate, so that we table a petition for these people to be censured. Why? Because number one, if you look at what they are doing now, by denying clinic officers the right to see Kenyans, whether through their facilities or themselves, they are of course denying Kenyans access to health care. That is against Article 43 of the Constitution. They are discriminating those Kenyans, that you can only be seen if you go to a facility only by this one and not the other one. That is against Article 27. And of course, undermining the superiors who gave them the directive. I believe these are grounds that should have these people censured, because it is like we have been calling that they be sacked, and we are not seeing that happening. But now that Parliament has really seen what we have been saying, we want to take a petition asking that that be done, because I don't think there is anything else that we'll be able to do.
Can we get to specifics? And of course, as we almost sum it up, Wednesday is 2 days away.
Yes.
So there's Monday and Tuesday. Do you suppose the concerns might be addressed before it gets to this point where you have to hit the streets and collect the signatures? And what then would be, what steps do you suppose should be taken to ensure that, of course, the clinical officers are adequately represented, number one, as well as are allowed the chance to accord this health, of course, elements to the people. But above everything, what in terms of policy needs to be done so that we have a long-term solution? And where are we at as to the CBA status?
Thank you. I think moving away from the Social Health Authority, one of the problems that we have had is also that in the Ministry of Health, there is over-domination by particularly one cadre. We need at the policy level a representation of the ministry. We need the top leadership, that is the directorates, excluding the political leadership appointments. We should have a reflection of the health sector. We should have a nurse there, a physiotherapist, a clinical officer, a doctor, everybody, so that then we have sound decisions and we also don't have bias. When it comes to the issue of the CBA, and I think I can talk about now the return to work agreement, the CBA with the ministry, we finished and initialized around start of December last year. But then they're still saying they're waiting for Treasury and SRC so that we can sign. The Council of Governors, only a few things are pending. It's something that we can also be able to conclude, still saying that they're waiting for Treasury and SRC. The issues of promotions are underway. Counties are at different stages. But we decided that we will only go back once those processes are over, because they were supposed to be over last year. We have two other major issues, one being the universal health coverage staff. These are people who were employed when we were starting this UHC in around 2020, just before COVID. Around 8,571 of them, a mixture of all the cadres. They were paid half of what the others are paid, with the promise that they were going to be absorbed in their permanent and pensionable. 5 years on, that has not happened. Last year, you remember during our strike, we were also representing them. And when we had a joint sitting of the Senate and Parliament, there was a resolution that add them 2 years, so that within the 2 years we can absorb them. The 2 years are ending in May of 2026. But in this current budget, we don't have money to absorb them. And that is why we are saying, come on, you said you are going to absorb them at the end of the 2 years. There won't be another budget, that is budget policy, that will be made before May 2026. So we need to see that budget in the next financial year, so that then we'll be sure that this is going to happen. And then there is the issue of the interns posting. We have two issues in this. One is that we have around 2,500 who are at home, who have not been posted for almost 2 years. But then we also saw the CS the other day saying that we are still going back to the salaries that had been reduced. So these are the issues that have really taken us on strike. But what I can say is that we are determined that this time we are not going to go back, unless, of course, the court forces us. I said we respect the law. But the courts, I know it's not going to force us, because the same court is the one that gave the directives that the employers have not been able to implement.
In 30 seconds, what do we need to do to the entire health system for us to get it right? 30 seconds.
What I would tell the president, I would like to address the president if I get my 30 seconds.
Yes.
And number one, I'll tell the president that, Mr. President, SHA can work and SHA can help us achieve UHC. You have the wrong leadership. Please send them home. Bring new people who can be able to take us forward. The Ministry of Health needs reforms, especially in the leadership.
Okay.
Please lead the reforms from the front. Give your directives so that we can be able to sanitize and remove cartels, because that is where they thrive.
Well, it's pretty much a new, system, and you ask yourself, and I mean, we saw one of the leaders actually being aimed out the other day. So the question is, who is this one that would come and bring in a sanity? Of course, the ball is on the government's court. Peterson Wachira, thank you so much for always coming out to speak about the concerns, because when you speak for the clinical officers, you are certainly speaking on behalf of Kenyans. The conversation is bigger than our time, but we continue having this right here on TV 47. So make sure that you always keep it here. My name is Linda Alela. It was great having you, appreciating the entire team as well as the sign language interpreter, that is Rhoda Nyamai, as we come to a close. Chairperson, Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, Peterson Wachira, asante sana for your time. And back at home for the immense feedback, do have yourself a lovely Sunday night and a good week ahead.